honestly, I reached out to Grant earlier this year, having seen some of his work with another friend and colleague, and then did the ad that you saw earlier, or some that you've seen it online or on TV, and one of the other pieces of work that I had seen was the Jumpin' Jack, and I was like, Grant, that'd be awesome to play it at the Seneca Film Festival, and also being here because you've done the ad, thought it was some fun mix. But do you have anything to say? Because you also did. No, you can talk about it. Well, you also did some of the music, and it was just
something that people don't expect from this film is that I'd sang that. I wrote it and sang it.
Oh wow!
You have to say it.
But it was just really fun to work on it. Honestly, I'm really sad that the whole crew couldn't be here. I'm sad that my producer Catherine, who made this film work. Like, I just want to make sure that it's known that she really helped me pull this together. Like, I had a dream, but I needed a team to actually believe in it with me. So, I mean, if you notice, there were like over 70 something people in the credits, which and this was my graduate film from SCAD, and this is what I did for my senior year. And people usually don't turn out for a film like that. We usually have like maybe 10 animators per film or something. But I wrote it. I had some, again, I had help with all these parts. I didn't just do any of these on my own, but I wrote it and had some editors help me fix it and tweak it. And when I put a band together with a bunch of people that I knew in town that went to SCAD, or some people that actually went to a church that I used to go to back there. This guy Joe Montesino, who was like the organist at the church, like was the guy at the very back of that was the band, by the way. When you saw him on the little wagon, they were the band wagon. But Joe, it was a really fun time to make the song and record it. It was great, and I just wouldn't be able to do it. Like I made the boards with the song. And then we put the board, we showed the animatic and the boards to everyone that would watch it, and we got a huge turnout. People loved it. They just liked the heart and the soul of the story, and that's what made it great. And the coolest thing too is that for the film, a lot of people don't let freshmen work on their films, right? But I knew that was the only way I'd get it done. It was a very big, like compared to most films, like it was a very big film, a lot of characters, a whole story. It was large. Usually, a lot of people do a couple things here and there, like anyway, I wouldn't have been able to do this at all if it weren't for basically just the entire freshman class as well as a lot of other people too. But that's just like a point, don't forget about the little guy. Like they're, you know what I mean? Like they're extremely important. You gotta involve everybody that you possibly can, or else it's not gonna get to the point that it can.
How did you get everyone on board? How did you get them excited?
Well, really, how would you think you get people excited in college? Free pizza and drinks. I put interest meeting posters everywhere, and I was like, Jumpin' Jack needs your help. Free pizza this Friday. Come look at it. So yeah, Jack his character himself just kind of took off and got people involved in it. His optimism, it attracts people. But yeah, it was really fun. I don't really have anything else to say, honestly. It was just a great time.
Any other questions? Bill?
Yeah, I teach digital art, animation, videography at a local high school.
Yeah.
And two questions, I guess. One, what did you use to basically both do the art and then the editing? And two, what were you using in high school to get you to SCAD?
Got it. In high school, my portfolio was mainly, it was pretty much all traditional. I got to SCAD with a traditional portfolio. My high school, I came from Jackson, Tennessee, and I went to USJ, which is a great high school, but they didn't have, they had like Photoshop and things, but I didn't know, I was intimidated by the software, honestly, so I didn't get into it until, honestly, pretty late into college.
Real quick, for those that don't know what SCAD is, it's a...
Yeah. Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah, Georgia. It's where I'm from. Beautiful, beautiful place. If you have any artistic children, please tell them about that place. It's amazing. It's incredible. But so I My portfolio for high school was all traditional, and I was going to go to SCAD for illustration, and then they said, well, it sounds like you want to be in animation, like you want to make stories, that's where you want to be. So I was like, okay. I was again intimidated. I didn't know if I could do what I really wanted to do. You know, I wasn't mentally, like, I didn't know if I could just go ahead and just do, like everyone, you know, I don't know if I can do it. But to answer your question about software, in order to do all the model sheets, we used Photoshop, or I did all the model sheets, and then I did also the animatic storyboards in Photoshop as well, which typically it should be done in other software. Only bigger like Disney does their boards like that, but you should not encourage it. You should do probably Storyboard Pro if you're looking to do. Then we use Toon Boom Harmony, which is probably the best animation software to actually animate all of it, and Adobe, Premiere, After Effects to edit it. And then that's not counting the music. So I don't even know what software he was. I think Pro Tools or something. I'm not entirely sure. A bunch of a lot of softwares were involved, tons. But
how long did it take altogether?
I had so I was sitting in my room in December 2013, and I knew that everyone at SCAD has to do an animation project. They've changed the way that works. That doesn't matter to anyone else, but I'm really happy that they've changed the way it used to work. But it used to, everyone that graduated had to have a film of their own. Everyone had to be a director, which, that's a problem because not everyone's a director, not everyone's a rigger or whatever it is. So we all had to make a film, and I knew that was coming down the pipeline. Like I knew that was going to happen. And so I was sitting in my room with my friend Bo Kitzman, and I need to really make a shout out to him because I was sitting there talking to him because he's a brilliant person. We collaborate on all kinds of stuff. We just talk. He's like my artistic other half. I just feel like he has my brain in him, but in music, right? So I was sitting there with him talking about how I needed to do a story, and I wanted I didn't care what it was about. I knew I could put my story into any subject. I just needed a subject that was blank enough. And he goes, out of nowhere, why don't you make the origin story for Jumping Jacks? Because there's no history behind it. The only two things in Jumping Jack history is like the toy and the exercise, and we don't know where they come from. So I was like, well, that's perfect. So I'll just use that, and this is the, essentially like now in my idea, it's like the story, or the toys and the exercise comes from, that's like a way that we memorize or we remember his story. So I tried to make the origin story for that, but he gave me that idea in I'm pretty sure 2013. And then it was about 2.5 years straight of just figuring out what that story is, writing it, thinking about it. The guy who screen wrote Precious, Joffrey Fletcher, I went to SCAD Lacoste for a summer in France, and he was my guest professor of screenwriting, which was a huge honor. And so he worked with me in Lacoste with the story for a long time. I just think about like us sitting there and just looking down the vineyards, and we're hanging. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. You should look him up. He's got some great films. He won an Academy, I'm pretty sure an Academy Award for he's awesome. So sweet. He loves to talk about his mom. Such a sweet guy. But just a little note. But so I was writing on it and just thinking about the story for a long time. The original version was nothing like this. It was way too complicated and like epic, but then I realized like I should just make it simple, short boy in a tall world. Easy. That's my story. I feel like I've always been just like, I feel like we all kind of have that kind of mentality a little bit, but I just thought it was like simple enough to inject whatever kind of story I wanted into it. So that's where I went from there. But any other questions?
Anybody else?